This isn't just another message scrolling past your screen. This is a divine interruption. You didn't stumble onto this by accident. You were meant to be here, right now, in this very moment. Feel that? That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. Everything you've survived, every delay, every detour, every dark night, was never the end. It was preparation. You are not ordinary. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. And no matter who overlooked you, the higher realms never did. You were always being shaped for something greater, something only you could carry. This is your awakening. This is your activation. The shift has already begun. And guess what? You are the shift. So lean in. Own this moment. The universe, your ancestors, your spirit guides, they're all watching, cheering, celebrating, because finally, you're waking up to who you really are. A shift has taken place in the unseen dimensions, not due to possessions or accolades, but because transformation has echoed through every fiber of your being. There's a silent ovation beyond the visible world, because endurance triumphed where bitterness once thrived. Where grief once rooted itself, strength now blossoms. What's unfolding here isn't shallow inspiration. It's a profound unveiling of identity. This message isn't entertainment. It's a frequency matched only by those meant to find it. If your inner compass leans in, recognize this moment for what it is, a coded transmission for those on the edge of awakening. When you feel the alignment, respond in your own silent way. It's not for validation, but to anchor your awareness. What seems like coincidence is often sacred timing in disguise. A deeper alignment is occurring. An ancient rhythm moves beneath your present reality. Few will walk this full path, but those who do will tap into clarity, ignite inner knowledge passed down through generations, and receive what was hidden in plain sound. This isn't merely encouragement. It's a ceremony for your soul. A lineage watches with pride, not for survival, but because you've become the answer to their unfinished symphony. This isn't meant to be heard just once. It's designed to reveal more with each echo. Replay until the message stops speaking to your ears and starts resonating in your bones. Here begins the first understanding. You carry forward what others had to leave behind. You are not here by accident. If you feel the pull, the knowing deep inside that you are chosen, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and a path that aligns with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution, it's a declaration, a step toward who you were meant to be. Answer the call, walk with us, and step fully into your destiny. Your journey begins now. Before, dreams were often stifled by silence. Longings outnumbered opportunities. Many could see the summit, but not the path. Existence demanded endurance, leaving no room to nurture inner healing. Potential was tucked away, untouched, unspoken, like instruments that never found a song to carry. What held them back wasn't willpower, but restriction. It wasn't a lack of intent, but a lack of access. Still, they sowed what they could, even if the harvest would come long after they were gone. You are that unseen garden made real, the blossoming of futures they could only hope might one day breathe. You are the visible form of quiet faith. Their prayers had no name, but they had direction. You walk corridors they never stepped into, becoming the fulfillment of hopes too fragile to speak aloud. The barrier breaker, the voice carrier, the one chosen to shift the entire narrative, not just to survive the storm. You found peace not in escape, but within the eye of it. While many crumbled, you stood. Patterns that gripped generations shattered at your feet. In your evolution, you've become the bridge, the resolution, the living echo of redemption. Your journey is a restoration not just for yourself, but for all who walked before you in silence. What's happening through your life is not casual. It's a generational shift echoing across time. There's recognition in the realms beyond sight, not for surface success, but for the unseen courage to break patterns long left untouched. Each moment of choosing integrity over convenience, alignment over fear, becomes a signal that old wounds are finally being acknowledged and rewritten. Every grounded step is supported by countless stories that began before language. They may have started with limitations, but they carved out enough space for you to complete what they could only dare to initiate. You are not continuing a tale. You are closing chapters with strength, where others were forced to pause in silence. That heavy feeling you sometimes carry isn't weakness. It's the quiet accumulation of dreams left dormant and voices never raised. But within that weight also lives a rare clarity and a strength not earned alone. There's an unseen alliance walking beside you, celebrating because through your evolution, something long buried is being restored. The promise didn't disappear. It waited. And now it's finding expression through your actions, your healing, your refusal to shrink. What looks like a personal journey is in fact a chorus of unspoken victories finally breathing. And this unfolding? It's only the prologue. They weren't resisting you. They were reacting to what your presence triggered. The friction you've known wasn't random. From your first breath, there was awareness of your potential. Resistance rose not out of your weakness, but because your very being posed a threat to long-standing shadows. There was always something sacred within you, even before you knew how to carry it. Every wound had an assignment: to distract, to confuse, to make you misread yourself. Environments were designed to dim you, to press you into shapes you were never meant to take. Yet, what they failed to erase, the deeper world remembered. You were always known, always guarded. It wasn't denial, it was delay. You weren't abandoned, you were being preserved. Marked not for mediocrity, but for a path with weight. What you carry demands more than casual living. It requires separation, depth, and a pace many will not understand. Blending in was never part of the blueprint. Belonging in the usual spaces was never your route. Your path was carved differently, not as a flaw, but as your signature. The discomfort you felt was not a mistake, it was a guide. Even those who left weren't punishment. They were part of the design that pushed you forward, toward your assignment, waiting to be fulfilled. Endurance in chaos, strength through confusion. What felt like delay was actually design. Those pauses and heartbreaks were not detours, but crafting points. While it looked like time was being stolen, wisdom was being woven into your core. What broke you open didn't weaken you. It carved a capacity your lineage couldn't imagine holding. That quiet space of struggle shaped the power you're now stepping into. This wasn't just emotional awareness. It was divine preparation. There was weight on your path because you weren't meant to carry light things. The pressure refined you because your purpose required layers of insight and strength. Where others were shielded, you were sent into the storm because what lives within you needed that kind of forging. Every hit you took clarified the mission. Every loss made room for more discernment. When things fell apart, you gained sight. Those were not endings. They were recalibrations for something greater. You emerged not as someone merely spared, but as someone sculpted by fire into a force the world could no longer ignore. The turning point wasn't a grand event. It was a quiet decision to step out of despair, to lift yourself even while nothing around you made sense. Those who tried to block your light didn't realize it wasn't external. It was embedded in your essence. And now that awareness has returned, your movement is irreversible. Each step now carries momentum from generations. You weren't just selected, you were entrusted. And that trust was not casual. It came with sacred backing, an invisible authority behind every action you take. What weighed you down wasn't born with you. It passed through time and arrived at your doorstep, unasked for, unearned. A reservoir of hidden sorrow, unfamiliar ache, unfamiliar anger. It wasn't confusion, it was inheritance. You became the vessel to end what others had no room to hold. The silence from before you echoed in you. You noticed the patterns. You saw through the performances. What looked like normalcy was a tapestry of suppression and survival. Where others turned their heads, you looked straight into the root. You didn't just reject the past. You rewrote it. What was normalized, you exposed. What was buried, you brought into light. You refused to recycle wounds. You took the path of discomfort so the future wouldn't have to. You chose the medicine over the mask. You are not here by accident. If you feel the pull, the knowing deep inside that you are chosen, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and a path that aligns with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution, it's a declaration, a step toward who you were meant to be. Answer the call, walk with us, and step fully into your destiny. Your journey begins now. That act shattered more than you could see. Contracts made in pain began to dissolve. Ties bound by unspoken fears began to loosen. By choosing honesty, you untangled knots that had never been acknowledged. You shed tears for people who didn't know they were allowed to cry. And every shift in you created space for something new to be born. The change wasn't limited to your journey. It moved backward through time like a tide reversing. Places that had been numb for centuries began to feel again. Souls once silenced sensed a restoration they never thought would come. Their eyes are now on you, not for validation, but because you are what they waited for. You did the work few even notice. You confronted emotions that were easier to ignore. You resisted the urge to deflect and instead became a mirror. You broke repetition through reflection. That's why everything around you feels unfamiliar, because you became the unfamiliar in a legacy of repetition. You are no longer just one person healing. You've become a turning point, a renewal that echoes across timelines. Shame no longer leads. Silence no longer rules. Abandonment, detachment, disconnection. They lost their grip the moment you said, "No more." The task was never fair. The burden wasn't balanced, but in the weight, you grew sharper. In the tension, you saw clearly. In the ache, you became the shift. And every tear you thought was only yours washed over generational wounds, reaching into places that never had a voice until now. Healing has stepped into the now, not as a dream, but as a realized state. The inherited script of sorrow has been dismantled, and in its place stands a new narrative authored in strength. What once passed silently from generation to generation has found voice, has found form. This is not the revival of a single life. It's the restoration of an entire legacy. What was thought to be lost is being reassembled through unwavering will, and peace is finally reaching places that never knew rest. Adversity became the very forge of transformation. The scars meant to silence have become signals of resilience. Every time trust was shattered, insight sharpened. The quiet places once mistaken for emptiness revealed themselves as sanctuaries of inner clarity. The collapse that once seemed to be the end became the raw material for rebirth. No chapter was wasted. Every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, every breath taken in solitude held a secret ingredient for the fire you now walk in. You became more than a survivor. You became the architect of a new emotional architecture, rebuilding not just for yourself, but for those who could never find the blueprint. That ache was never in vain. The struggle crafted a rhythm. What once felt like chaos became a map. This is no ordinary metamorphosis. It is a sacred recalibration, one that reshaped you from the inside out. Your transformation is not simply a tale of survival. It's a testament to sacred recreation, proof that collapse can carry seeds of divine design. Every setback was a stair. You didn't just move through storms, you learned to create harmony inside them. You realized the breaking point wasn't the finish line, but the spark of authorship. You reclaimed the pen and rewrote a script that for too long played out without your consent. That kind of agency, it's not common, it's transcendent. The ripple of your shift isn't limited to your present. It reverberates backwards and forwards, breaking inherited limits and setting new patterns in motion. Generational ceilings have shattered beneath your rise, and the pulse of that freedom can be felt by the voices once stilled. In unseen realms, your evolution is being recognized. What you've become is not average, it's seismic. You carry a depth not born of ease, but of intention. The adversity wasn't random. It was a signal of the magnitude of the mission. Now that internal fire burns steady, and the shadows that lingered have begun to recede. You bear what was once impossible to carry. You stand where others could only hope to reach. Your presence now casts a glow that guides others toward themselves. The strength you walk in isn't borrowed. It's earned, refined, and deeply rooted in truth. Each moment of bravery rewrote the instructions written in your blood. Where once there were warnings, there are now declarations of resilience. Every time you pressed forward, you echoed the forgotten wishes of those who never had the chance. What you are building is a sanctuary not just for you, but for every branch of the tree, still growing from your roots. This strength is not borrowed, it is embedded, and it cannot be undone. Keep moving forward. The unfolding is far from finished. What you carry isn't weight, it's echo. Each motion you make carries an ancient resonance. Your journey is not one of self alone, but of soul collective. The earth remembers you, time recognizes you, and every step forward moves not just your story, but the entire lineage etched behind your name. Some are called to lift what others were never meant to touch. There is a silent burden that lives beneath the surface, felt but unseen, an ancient weight that presses against your soul like pressure from places without names. At times, exhaustion meets you at dawn, not from your own choices, but from carrying what wasn't healed before you. You question the fairness, the solitude, the enormity of being the one chosen to move when so many stood still. But that moment of wondering is also the evidence of why the path belongs to you. You were designed to step into the spaces left fractured, to cross boundaries carved in fear, to rise where history said it wasn't possible. You move with depth, not volume, with presence, not performance. This is not show, it is sacred. Within your bones flows the fire of those who could not speak but still believed. Their hopes wrapped themselves around your destiny, In your stillness, their strength pulses. When your voice shakes, it echoes theirs, urging you forward even when your own will trembles. You are more than their memory. You are their manifestation. You are witnessed not for appearance, but for essence. Not because you seek the spotlight, but because truth cannot remain hidden. You embody a reverence that doesn't boast but transforms. Your power lives in quiet actions, in dignity, in choices made when no one is watching. That is how you honor where you come from, by rising without needing applause. Even when collapse seems closer than courage, you remain upright. You turn struggle into momentum. You make meaning from chaos. This isn't only about remembering those who came before, it's about creating space for those yet to arrive. What you do today travels farther than your own story. When you speak, it fills the silence of voices that were ignored. When you move, something in the future clears. Yes, the path is vast and heavy, but it's also divine. What you carry is not simply for now. It is fuel for an unfolding that transcends your own chapter. This isn't a relay for the fastest, but for the most faithful. You carry the ember that refuses to extinguish. This path is the invitation to defy limitation, to change the script, to become evidence that transformation is not theory, it's possible. And in the invisible layers of your life, an audience watches with reverence. You are their continuation. Your rise is their victory. When uncertainty creeps close, when you forget your own power, recall the origin of your fire. You aren't merely walking, you are becoming. A surge in the timeline, a shift so potent it rewrites patterns coded long before you arrived. The fire you carry is not borrowed, it's legacy, given new form. There are moments when favor doesn't look like fortune, it looks like endurance. Yet the alignment you've chosen has built a current that now flows through every thread of your story. What was once blocked has now burst open. No resistance, no shadow, no scheme could stop the surge of grace now flowing forward through your line. What you receive is not only for you, it's foundational, planted deep into timelines yet unspoken, into children not yet formed, into realities you may never see, but that will rise on the strength of your footsteps. What flourishes tomorrow is rooted in your willingness today. Obedience has been the undercurrent. It's the quiet yes that shattered barriers louder than any declaration. It's the alignment that rewrote contracts signed in pain. It became the unseen protection, the divine reinforcement that nothing could fracture. The unseen things you chose in silence have become unbreakable pillars of legacy. There are moments when alignment shifts reality itself. What once seemed locked away behind layers of inherited pain and forgotten prayers is now pouring forth like a surge that cannot be stopped. Dormant blessings, buried beneath the weight of unspoken history, have begun to awaken. The hidden fractures in your lineage are being addressed, not with avoidance, but with divine force that renews rather than repeats. And unseen realms are in motion, stirred by the sound of restoration, finally touching earth. What once lingered under the shadow of loss is now wrapped in a renewal no resistance can match. The very areas that once whispered of lack and limitation are being saturated with abundance, not from chance, but from alignment. This unfolding isn't chaos, it's consequence, the kind of favor that flows from unwavering commitment to the path when everything else shouted to turn back. Because resilience refused to bow, something irreversible has been set in motion. In the silence, when no one affirmed your strength, you remained. And in that stillness, gates opened. Not temporary ones, but ancestral doors, that had been bolted shut by centuries of fear. Now, with every step, you are dismantling limitations that stood like monuments to suffering. A path was carved where there was none, not out of ease, but because the fire inside refused to flicker out. Those behind you, those yet to come, will walk through spaces your footsteps made possible. And the seeds of obedience you sowed, they've become roots, roots that will outlast storms, outgrow curses, and reach generations ahead. What flows now is not just yours. It pulses through your entire bloodline. It climbs through history and stretches into tomorrow. Your inner work has reshaped the structure of your legacy. The shift wasn't small, it was seismic, and everything is realigning to match the new sound you've brought into being. The reason favor feels unshakable now is because it's been earned through unseen wars. Every tether that tried to hold you still is unraveling. Echoes of old burdens are being drowned out by the rhythm of redemption. No enemy, no lie, no ancient resistance can withstand the force of this new current. You've become the conduit for something sacred and unstoppable. What you now carry flows far beyond your own reach. The choices made in secret are lifting entire branches of your lineage, and the spiritual weight that once dragged behind you has been transformed into momentum. This is the inheritance reborn, not handed down as pain, but passed forward as power. You are not here by accident. If you feel the pull, the knowing deep inside that you are chosen, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and a path that aligns with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution, it's a declaration, a step toward who you were meant to be. Answer the call, walk with us, and step fully into your destiny. Your journey begins now. The blessing is active, alive, unfolding with purpose. Keep your stance. This movement depends not on external applause, but on inner conviction. The road ahead may still rise and fall, but it will no longer be defined by the limits of those who walked before you. What once felt unreachable is now breathing through your actions. You are the evidence, the trailblazer, and this is only the first breath of a much larger rise. Let no illusion of finality fool you. This is not an ending, it's ignition. The ground beneath your feet is no longer barren, it's sacred foundation. What you are stepping into now is the beginning of something immeasurable. You're not circling back. You're stepping forward into terrain your ancestors once only dared to imagine. Legacy isn't just what you leave. It's what vibrates long after you've stepped away. There are places where your impact will reverberate, not in echoes of your name, but in the quiet strength you left behind. Though your path may feel solitary at times, know that your lineage walks with you, not in memory, but in movement. Their endurance shaped your entrance. Their faith, though unseen, built the ground beneath your rise. You are not lacking. What guides you now is not uncertainty, but earned understanding. Experience has shaped your instincts, and clarity has been carved through endurance. Around you, forces beyond sight align to help you carry what once seemed impossible. When uncertainty speaks, remember, it's not just you who walks. There are unseen forces steering your steps. Even when the route feels blurred, direction is woven through each step. Every trial was preparation. Every pause was alignment. This is the cycle where healing becomes transformation, and transformation gives birth to legacy. You are not wandering. You are cultivating the future. Where once there were wounds, there are now beacons. What once felt like burden has turned to blueprint. The very marks left behind are now road signs for others walking paths only you could prepare. This chapter is not about surviving another season. It is about stepping into a role only strength could qualify you for. The spirit behind your lineage rejoices, not because it was easy, but because you said yes. That whisper that called your soul forward, you didn't run from it. You embraced every uncertain step, every silent night, every unseen shift. You became the thread between eras, the junction where history and hope meet, and every decision, no matter how quiet, became a ripple stretching into time.